Members of the Civilian Complaint Review Board will appear before the City Council today to testify about having more access to NYPD body camera footage and sealed disciplinary records as it continues to crack down on police misconduct.
That's right. The Independent Police Oversight Agency recommended disciplinary actions against more than 300 NYPD officers for misconduct last year, but Police Commissioner Keyshawn Sewell declined to hold the officers accountable. Now, balancing police reform and public safety, very complicated. We're getting an inside look at how previous administrations handled the issue in this new book called The Secret Files, Bill de Blasio, the NYPD, and the Broken Promises of Police Reform. The book is written by Michael Hayes, who is joining us this morning on the couch. So good morning to you, Michael. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So the book is a very interesting read here. Police reform obviously continues to be such a hot-button issue in not only New York City, but around the country. There have been many efforts across the board to reform police as we know it, but it's a difficult task. What do you make of it?
Yeah, absolutely. But as you said, it continues to be a hot-button issue, despite what some people and some political leanings might say about folks not being as into this sort of thing as they were, say, 2 years ago when George Floyd was killed.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about when your book actually starts. A lot of stuff was going on. It was 2014. That was the year we lost Eric Garner. It was also the year when Akai Gurley was shot by an NYPD officer walking down a stairwell in East New York. It was also the year that Officer Wen-Jen Liu and Rafael Ramos were killed while they were sitting in their car. So much going on. So what was going on between the NYPD and the community at that time, and what was the city doing to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, the way you just described it really kind of, for me, really suggests how big of an issue it was for the de Blasio administration. Really at the beginning of Bill de Blasio's time as mayor, you had Eric Garner, you had those officers murdered in Brooklyn, and it really turned police reform into, or public safety more broadly, into the biggest issue, in my opinion, of de Blasio's tenure as mayor.
And what did you make of misconduct and how it was handled through some of the reporting you did, because you did used to be a reporter as well?
So Broken Promises is in the title of the book. After Eric Garner was killed, Mayor de Blasio and the top police brass made a big push to say that something good would come out of that tragedy, that there would be meaningful reform. So with the book, I really wanted to look at the whole spectrum of the de Blasio administration and figure out if they hit the mark. You mentioned I was a reporter at BuzzFeed a couple years ago. That was sort of what kicked this all off for me. Myself and another reporter, we were past a couple thousand secret NYPD disciplinary records that just revealed terrible tragedies, not quite on the scale of Eric Garner, but no less tragic for the victims involved.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to mention that we reached out to former Mayor de Blasio, and we're still waiting to hear back from him. But so 2 years after your report, I mean, the George Floyd protests, I mean, everything that happened then. I mean, it was the relations between police, the city, and the community back in the spotlight again. It feels like we've not made any progress. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, so the end of the book covers the George Floyd protests, and I thought that was important to do because, as you just alluded to there, Hazel, it really shows that they didn't make much progress during de Blasio's time as mayor, and that continues today.
So how do you think, from the moment you kind of zero in on starting the book to where we are today, are we better or worse than where we were in the beginning?
I'm an optimist. I got to say we're at least a little bit better. You compare what the NYPD in New York City is doing in terms of transparency. It's leaps and bounds ahead of what's going on in other major cities around the country. The biggest major cities that we have outside of New York, like Houston and Philadelphia. So they have made some progress. However, I zero in on the book, where they fell short. I was able to identify over 100 missing disciplinary records
Wow.
for serious stuff like beatings and officers lying in court, officers lying on official police documents, that sort of thing, that I was able to find that just isn't being released publicly by the NYPD, even a couple years after they said they were going to do so.
Yeah, well, really important information that you brought to light. Michael Hayes, thanks again for being in studio with us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me.
Best of luck with the book.
Thanks.
And The Secret File is available now wherever books are sold, everybody.